Hey, Gorgeous Souls Ears Fix, and this is, I guess, kind of like another episode in my series about social media and how we can get off social media but still use social media, basically not be consumed by it and not be addicted to it, which is something that I have been navigating myself. I did make a whole video on this previously, just at the beginning of my most recent 30 days off social media. If you'd like to go and check that out, there is a link below on that. That video got kind of long. I'm hoping this one's a little bit shorter and a bit more to the point. That's something I'm working on in these videos, but there's a lot in that video that's actually really useful and really important, I think, if you are somebody who just wants to take your power back from social media. So I have recently, about 2 weeks ago, I finished my 30 days off social media. I had previously to this done 40 days off social media, and I talk a bit about that in the other video. But it was really interesting to see how the second time that I did it, the second time that I took time off social media, that it was different, and I learnt more, and I have more things to share and things to tell you about. So that's why I'm making this video. So I guess I'll start by just kind of talking a little bit about why I wanted to get off social media, in case you haven't seen the long rambly video. Basically, I was just feeling more and more consumed by it. Every time I take time off social media, even just taking weekends off, which is something that I try to do all the time now, although I don't always, but most weekends I'm able to get off social media. But I had noticed that there'd kind of been like a decline for me in how much I was in my power with social media, and I just found myself more and more often picking up my phone, scrolling, looking at random stuff, being absolutely consumed by it, almost to the point where some things were happening where I didn't feel like I could go to bed without just checking socials just one more time, just really quickly. Why? I don't know, but when you're in that mindset, it doesn't matter why, it's just this desperate urge that you feel like I just have to look at it. And looking at it first thing in the morning as well, that was becoming a habit that I'd never actually even had that habit before. I'd seen so many people over time talk about how, don't pick up your phone first thing in the morning, and I was always like, oh, I don't do that. But I'd started doing that, so it was just getting like, it wasn't good. And I was just starting to notice, okay, I need to do something about this. So that's when I decided to take the 30 days off. So the very beginning of my 30 days was a little bit challenging, and I definitely found myself cheating on those first few days. I would go onto the laptop and have a little look, just in case. And then after about 4 days, I stopped doing that. It was like a couple of days of like, I've just got to check, just got to make sure everything's okay. And then I was like, okay, everything's fine. I don't need to do this. And then I, really started my time off socials. I had a really, really great month. Honestly, it was really good. And part of what happened in that month as well is I went away for 2 weeks. I went to Cambodia and Thailand. And so that was really interesting, like being on holiday without being on socials. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But yeah, it was great. It was absolutely like so what I needed. I wasn't sure at the start if I was just going to take the 30 days or if I was going to go for 40 days again. But coming up towards the end of the 30 days, I really felt like I just wanted to be back on social media for my business more than anything. Because, it's difficult being a business owner without social media. Like, it's a really great way to reach people. And so, when you're a business owner, you really got to think about, how can I be on social media, or how can I use social media for my business without letting it consume me? I have some tips for that I'll share towards the end. Okay, so here are some things that happened when I took 30 days off social media. Number 1, my anxiety and stress reduced. My nervous system had like a beautiful reset, and I just felt more relaxed in my body. I could feel the difference in my body. I wasn't like constantly like this, I wasn't kind of in this what really kind of happens with our nervous system when our nervous system is fried, we're in that like flight or fight response. And so many people are in that response on social media, and you can see that in the comment section. If you look at the comment section, you can see how many people have gone fight. They've gone straight to the fight. They've gone straight to the like, I disagree with this, I've got to tell everybody. That reaction is like, that's your, you know, that's your nervous system. That's your like, that's your, you know, your animalistic kind of like response of just like, I gotta fight this person, you know. And it's like, it's not good. Like, it's really not good. So many people on socials are not taking a pause. So many people on socials are unable to, because it's affected us so much physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, that when we see stuff we disagree with, so many people aren't even able to scroll past it or just unfollow or whatever. It's like people are going right into that, I've got to fight. So my whole body just felt different when I wasn't looking at social media for 30 days. I felt different. My body I just felt more relaxed, and I felt better, and I felt calmer, and I noticed that my anxiety was just less generally. Even like anxiety and stress I had about other stuff, I could deal with it so much better, right? Which is like a really interesting thing. It's like stress and anxiety about something completely unrelated to social media. Suddenly I had the space and I had the tools and the ability to go, okay, what do I need to do about this? Rather than like, this is just another thing that's like stressing me out. So if you're having some anxiety and stress, take some time off social media, even if your stress and anxiety is not related to social media, and see what happens. I'm not going to pretend that the way that I've been experiencing social media is exactly the same as what everybody else will be experiencing on social media. But if some of this rings true for you, then you might want to try and see. So another thing that happened is I was not so consumed with world events, but I was more present to being in the here and now and thinking about what I could do here and now to serve and support and help and make a positive difference here in, you know, where I live and the things that are going on for me. And, you know, when we were traveling in Cambodia and Thailand, I was very much looking at, you know, well, what businesses can we support here? Like, how can we make a positive difference with our money here? Like, what's the best way to spend our money? Like, all of these kinds of things, rather than being consumed by world events that are just kind of like, well, what can I do about this? That's not to say, I'm going to put a big disclaimer on this, that's not to say that when world events are happening that are absolutely atrocious and horrendous, that we shouldn't be talking about them, or that we shouldn't be doing what we can and sharing and talking about it and donating money if we can and protesting and, you know, all of these amazing things that we can do. We should absolutely be doing those things if we feel called to, if we can do them. But I really feel like there comes a point where it's like, what about here and now? You know, what about here and now? What about the people next door? What about the community around you? I just felt like I was in a much better position when I wasn't so consumed by everything happening all over the world. I was just in a place where I could kind of go, okay, well, who can I help here and now? Who can I help today? How can I make a little positive difference in someone's life? And that was good. That was good for me. That was really good for me. Another thing that happened, I stopped picking up my phone so much just generally. So even without having, you know, even without thinking, oh, I want to check social media, I just wasn't like attached to my phone in the same way. You know, like I feel like we're also attached to our phones, whether we want to admit that or not. Most of us are. And I just felt like I had like this space from my phone. It was just kind of like, I could leave it in another room and like not look at it all day and then be like, wow, it's 6 o'clock, I haven't picked up my phone. This is amazing. That felt really, really liberating and freeing for me. I also just felt like I had space generally in my life, in my mind, in my life, in, you know, just this energetic spiritual feeling of like I have more space. And that felt great. If you feel like you don't have any space right now, take some time off from your phone. It's kind of like hard to explain, but it just felt like my so I saw a really amazing picture actually that someone had created that was like this figure in the middle. I'll see if I can try and find it and put the link below. There was this figure in the middle, and then all around was just like images and billboards and images and words and all this stuff, and just hands like reaching towards this person. And I was like, you know what, that is what social media feels like to me a lot of the time. It's like everyone's trying to get your attention, everybody's trying to like influence you to do something or to think something or whatever. So having space from that just helps you to really figure out like, what do I believe? What are my thoughts and opinions? What am I here to do? What am I about? You know, what's my message to the world, rather than just absorbing and consuming everybody else's stuff the whole time. So another thing that happened was that my FOMO totally disappeared. And that was really, really exciting. I just didn't care what anybody else was doing. It was amazing. It was really, really amazing. And, you know, part of that was cool. I'm traveling. I'm in Cambodia. I'm living, you know, having this amazing experience walking around all of the temples of Cambodia, which is something that's been on my bucket list for many, many, many years. Something that it's been on my vision board for many years. I remember cutting a picture out actually and sticking it on a vision board like 10 years ago that I wanted to go to Cambodia. So part of, you know, maybe part of the whole, like, I didn't have any FOMO thing was because I was doing I was living my dream, you know, I was traveling, I was having a great time doing things that I really wanted to do, but also just kind of generally, like, I wasn't at all concerned about what other people were doing. I wasn't looking at people, you know, we went to Thailand for a week, I wasn't looking at people on the beach thinking, oh, they're having a better time than me. Am I having good, you know, am I having enough fun? Like, I just didn't feel that. I just didn't feel the FOMO. I did not feel the FOMO. I just felt like, you know what, this is my life. I'm having a good time. It's all good. So if FOMO is a tricky thing for you, time off socials can really, really help. Another weird thing that happened was like I didn't really take that many photos, and I'm kind of, in some ways I'm a little bit sad about that, because now that I'm back, it's like, where are all the photos from the trip? Where's all the photos from the trip? But you know, I was just experiencing it, right? I was experiencing it, I was having the experience, I was just there. I didn't feel the need to take a photo of every single moment. Whereas, you know, when I've got socials on my phone, every pretty thing you see is like, oh, I'm going to take a photo of this for socials. I'm going to take a photo of this for Instagram. I'm going to take a photo and put it on my stories. It's almost like you look at something beautiful and your first thought is, oh, I'm going to put this on social media, you know, like, oh, here's a beautiful sunset. Oh, I'm going to put this on social media. And that's a weird way to live, right? Like, that's a really weird way to live your life. Just having that as your first thought rather than like, wow, this is really beautiful. And then realizing after it's gone, oh shit, I didn't get a picture for social media. Oh well. So, you know, there's pros and cons for that, but I really felt like not having that feeling of like everything's an opportunity for a reel, you know, everything's an opportunity for something cool to go on Instagram. It's like, that shouldn't really be how we're thinking about how we engage with the world, you know. So that felt nice that I wasn't thinking about it in that way. Another thing that happened is that I was more present with the people around me, and I've noticed this with my husband like so many times when I have my phone and he's trying to talk to me. Don't know if you've ever done this before, or if you've experienced people doing this to you before, where they're trying to have a conversation with you and you're just looking at your phone. And sometimes it's like, oh, can we talk about this later because I'm in the middle of something. Like if it's work related, it's a bit different. But if I'm just scrolling, it's like, wow, okay, this is interesting. But I really noticed like how, now that I'm on the other side, and I'm going to talk a bit about this in a second, like, you know, what it's like to come out of your social media break. Now one thing I've noticed is that when somebody wants to talk to me and I have my phone, I'm looking at my phone, if it's not something really important or urgent that I'm in the middle of, I close my phone, I close the cover of my phone. I've got like a phone case that has like a cover that like closes. I close my phone and I put it down. and I listen. And it's wild. It's really wild. It's like, wow, I'm actually really listening. And that has been really good for me. And, I hope everybody does that when I'm talking to them as well. Like when we're having a conversation, if we meet in person and we have a conversation, I hope we can both put our phones down, and not be touching them or holding them while we're having a conversation. I think it's so, so important. I read more books. I always read more books when I'm off social media, and for me that's a really good thing because I love reading. I love books. So if I can read more books, I'm happy. So instead of reaching for my phone, I reach for my Kindle. I have books like all over the house. If you want to follow me on Goodreads, I would love to connect with you over there because I'm super into posting everything that I read on Goodreads. So let's be friends. Let's be good reads friends. So I have like a whole bunch of books that I'm reading. Like you'll see, if you follow me on there, you'll see that I'm reading like 5 or 6 books at a time. But I have like books everywhere. So I have a book next to the bed. I have some books in the lounge room. I have like my Kindle that kind of goes room to room with me sometimes. So sometimes, I was finding when I wasn't on socials that if I had nothing to do, like I was waiting for my husband to cook dinner or something like that, I just like reach for a book that I'm reading and just pick it up and like read some chapters. And that was great. I loved that. I really, really loved that. So if you want to read more books, get off social media. A couple of other things. I had more space to be creative and come up with ideas for my business, ideas for my novels, like, all of these things. I just felt like I had more of my own, like I was in a place where instead of consuming everybody else's content all the time, I could kind of come up with my own content more easily and come up with it from a place of like, this is just purely coming from whatever's within me. Of course, everything's like influenced by, all of the things around us, but it wasn't like, oh, I saw someone post this on Instagram, so I'm going to do this on Instagram. It was just like, oh, here's an idea. So, there's another thing. If you're feeling creatively blocked, it may feel like, oh, if I go on Instagram, I'll get inspired and I'll get ideas, whether it's creatively blocked for creative projects, for your business, for your work, whatever your thing is that you're creative about. Sometimes it can be better to just like disconnect from that stuff and just let the ideas come in and see what comes for you without being like super, super influenced from everything that you see on socials. And one other thing was I felt like I connected more deeply with people in my life, with my friends. And where I live at the moment, I don't have a lot of friends like in this area, but I have a lot of friends online. I have a lot of friends on WhatsApp. And I felt like I just put more time and energy into my friendships, into my real world friendships. So instead of, like getting on Instagram and like scrolling and looking at like what all these strangers and people I don't really know are doing, I got on WhatsApp and I replied to people. Or I got on WhatsApp and I messaged people I hadn't heard from in a while. I said, hey, like, how's it going? What's up? And kind of got back into contact with some people. And I feel like I'm still doing that now. Like after I've come out of social media, I feel like I'm looking at WhatsApp more than kind of going on socials. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to reconnect with this person or see how this person's doing or whatever. And it just feels, that's really what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be like super connected to every single person in the world. We're supposed to be connecting with the people that are, closest to us more than comment. Like I'd spend more time commenting on random strangers' Instagram posts than I would talking to my friends on WhatsApp. It's weird. It's wild. So those were some things that happened. There's loads more things. I wrote a list at one point, but I can't find it. I wrote a list of like, these are all the things that are coming up for me. There were so many things, so many insights, so many just like, oh, I'm feeling this. Oh, this is interesting. All of these things that happened. And the best thing that the best advice I can give you is to do it yourself and see what happens. You can do it for 30 days. You can do it for 40. I think 40 days is probably ideal. I don't think that I would have come back at 30 days if it hadn't have been for like some offerings and stuff that I'm doing that I wanted to share with my community. But I really wanted to share about my solstice. my solstice workshop, and then I have a New Year workshop, and then I have another Kundalini yoga course. I've got like all these things that I'm offering at the moment, and readings, and like all of this stuff that's just coming through me. It's like, let's do this, let's do that. So I was like, okay, I need to be back on socials because I want to share with my community about this stuff. But I also noticed, for about 4 days when I was back on socials, I don't think I'd even put it back on my phone yet. I think maybe I just put it on my phone after 4 days. And the first 4 days was totally fine. I didn't care about socials. I posted, I replied to comments, and then went on with my life. But after about 4 days, I noticed that I was getting back into the same old habits of picking up my phone and just scrolling and just getting like obsessive again about using it. And it was just happening. And I was like, this is really interesting, because last time I took my break, it was a long time before I kind of got into that space. So what I've done now is I am spending most of my time without the app on my phone, without the apps on my phone. And I'm connecting with people, I'm replying to messages and comments from the desktop. I'm posting from the desktop, so I'm not posting from my phone. And the only time I'm kind of putting the app on my phone like once or twice a week, so that I can reshare stuff on stories, share about my offerings, and also have a little bit of a scroll and then delete the app for like another week or like whatever. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And that's working pretty well for me right now. I need to definitely get into like a better kind of routine with that, of like, what am I actually doing? When am I going to put the app on my phone? It is annoying that you have to have the app on your phone to do stories and to post reels and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of, conflicted with that, because there's definitely, that can be fun to post stories, and it can also help people see your stuff. It can help with the algorithm and everything. But I know at the moment, for me, having the apps on my phone all of the time isn't going to work for me at the moment. I need to not have the apps on my phone. And that's just what I need to do with where I'm at right now with social media. And sometimes we need to do these things, right? Like sometimes we need to kind of hack ourselves, and we need to say, if I have this on my phone, I'm going to look at it. If I don't, I'm okay. So what's the solution? It's not going to be on my phone. Like, we have to help ourselves out sometimes. When people are like, oh, just don't look at your phone. Just don't look at it. Just like time yourself. I've tried these things. They don't work for me. They don't work. But there's something about the process of like having to download the app every time you want to look at something. It's a big effort. It's not a huge effort. You could still do it if you really wanted to, like, look at your phone, look at your socials. But for me, it's been really good not having the app on my phone. So yeah, it's going to be a journey for me, and it's going to be a journey for all of us, because, this is the times we live in. Social media is kind of something that we're all dealing with, something that is such a big part of the world right now. And definitely, if you're a creative, if you're a business owner, if you want to get your work out into the world in some way, then social media can be like a really amazing blessing. It can be something that is just, I don't even know if I'd have a business without social media. So there's this whole part of me that, like, actually I'm really grateful for it and I really love it. But there's this other part that's like, I can't have it on my phone. I can't have it on my phone. Okay, so that's where I'm at with social media right now. If you have questions about my journey or questions about how to get off social media, I'm more than happy to chat. Post in the comments, send me an email or a DM on socials, and we can chat. It's I think it's just like so important that we all take back our power from social media, because like I talked about at the very beginning, the whole like nervous system response, you don't have it, like, it's just, there's so many reasons that it's not good for us. And I think we all really need to find a way to work with it where we can be in our power, we can use it as a tool to get our work, our message, our light out into the world, but it doesn't consume us in a way that's actually preventing us from doing that. Okay, I have waffled on for long enough. I am sending you so much love. Let me know if you have questions, if you want to work together, offering readings, mentoring, all sorts of good stuff. The links will be all below if you want to connect in that way. And I am sending you lots and lots of love.